Hello my fellow imps, welcome back to the channel. Today I have got a micro build for you. Since we all have just gotten introduced to the tiny stuff pack, even though some of us may not have bought it yet, I did. And so I thought I would try it out with this build here. This is also going to be in addition to Miss Griffey's contest, I guess you could call it, where she might even tour this build if she happens to see it on the gallery and decides to do so. So yeah, I don't use a whole lot of actual stuff from the tiny living pack, to be honest. Although I really enjoyed it, I found a lot of the items didn't seem to save all that much space. So there's only a couple of things in here that are actually from that pack. The main thing that I liked was with the lot types, you can actually decide how big or how small you want it, and you can actually see how many tiles you have going at any given time, and that I really enjoyed. That I think will actually make it very challenging, that you can actually see how many tiles you have and in which spectrum of the tiny living tiers that you fall under. I did end up using a Murphy bed in here, and I think the TV bookcase slash radio combo and one of the dressers. Oh, and the table I think I did as well. There was a couple of things, but honestly, a lot of them seemed to take up just as much space. I know everybody was rather stoked on the Murphy bed, and although I like the idea of having a Murphy bed in the game, I don't really see how it's I don't see how it saves space that much, to be honest, because even when you place it, you still have to have enough room to allow it to go down or up. The only real benefit is that you can, if you want, have the little seating on the front. But still, it's like you can't put a table in front of your seating like you might in a normal build where you just have a couch or a love seat and then you've got the coffee table in front of it or something along those lines. You can't do that. You have to make sure you've got enough room to allow that bed to open and close. But I did use it here because, you know, it's new. So I thought, well, we'll give it a shot anyway. So my main, I think what I'll end up using this pack for mainly is simply being able to gauge according to tiles how big or small my build is. I have a feeling that there's going to be a number of things in this pack that I probably won't end up using a whole lot of, except for maybe the TV bookcase stereo combo. That I do really like. Yet, I mean, they also updated it so that the little decorative books, well, some of them anyway, can now be used as bookcases. So in essence, we got the same thing in some regards to that. So yeah, I like it, and I like the style of the items in it. However, I don't think I'll really be using them with the idea of it being for tiny areas, to be honest. I'll probably just use them in normal builds more often than I would use them in a tiny build. We'll see. So anyway, this is the first time that I've really kind of delved into the tiny living pack and really tried to use some of the items. And like I said, I ended up not using a whole lot of them, even though I did try. I did use some of them, but again, mainly just to sort of highlight what came with the pack and to kind of get used to how I might build with them later rather than actually using them because I necessarily wanted to. I know I'll probably get a lot of hate for this because the community absolutely loves this pack. And I don't blame them. It's a cute pack. It's just not exactly what I wanted, I guess. I could say the typical thing. I think bunk beds or loft beds would have been far better than the Murphy bed. Ladders would be another thing that would have been, I think, far better than the Murphy bed. So in that regard, I do agree with the community. The only real benefit I see to this is honestly the TV bookshelf radio combo. That to me is the only real kind of space saver. Because the Murphy bed, like I said, it takes up just as much space as an actual bed in many regards. So don't really see the benefit of that, but unless you want to use it for the seating. But then you got and although I am super stoked that we have a new death in the game. So you do get that with the Murphy bed. There is a new death to it. And apparently you can get trapped inside of it too, though I haven't managed to do that. But I am super stoked about that. However, if you were going to use this, say, in a main Let's Play, it would be kind of risky. Because, yeah, these Murphy beds break all the time. And unless you can get them repaired properly, they're just going to keep breaking. You're going to run the risk of your Sims dying just randomly. And in some regards, that's not a big deal. Like, I do like the aspect of that with some things where, like the unpredictability of things like that happening in The Sims. I do like that. But if you're actually working with, a main household, maybe even a legacy household or something along those lines, and suddenly the Murphy bed kills them, it's almost too easy to kill them with the Murphy bed. I have seen some people who it took them ages before they were able to kill their Sims with the Murphy bed. And then people like James, his died first go. And I actually pulled a James because my Sim Maddox, who is my little tester Sim in my build save, later on in the video when I go through and I'm testing everything out to see if it's all playable, because I do play test everything before I put it up on the gallery, and I had him go and try the Murphy bed and it killed him first time. I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. It's like a lot of things in The Sims might take a couple of tries to do it. Like you get electrocuted, you might get a dazed moodlet. And if you go to try to do something else, like repair the TV while you're dazed and you get electrocuted again, then you die, So I was kind of thinking it might be something more like that, where it might take, twice to get killed by it. But nope, I pulled a James. First time out, it killed me. So everybody else I've seen, it's taken at least 2 tries or more to kill their Sims, but apparently me and James are special, or at least our Sims are. So the real downside to that was I had been building this, and when I build things, I periodically during the build bring my Sim in to test things so that I don't get completely done with the build and then find out something doesn't work and I've got to redo an entire room in order to fix it. So he's been in and out of the house several times already during the build. And in this instance, I hadn't saved the game for like 20 minutes. And I think I had been doing like clutter items and stuff. And I was checking to make sure he could still get the Murphy bed to come down with some of the clutter items I had put in. And of course, he gets killed first time out. And all of a sudden, my game's over, and I'm sitting there going, oh my God, when did I save last? Am I going to have to redo like the last 30 minutes or an hour or something? When I ended up having to go back to a previous save, but thankfully it was only like 15 or 20 minutes, and I didn't have to redo a whole lot of work. I did have to redo some of it, but not a lot. Not as much as I thought I was, that I feared I was going to. So that was good. But yeah, so I'm just doing some landscaping out here. I did put some plants in here for whoever wants to download it from the gallery, because this is a micro home, and it does have that benefit of the micro home being plants will go twice as fast. So you do have a quote unquote greenhouse at the back that you can use, and you can go into it. The easiest way to do that, though, would be to bring your walls down completely. Otherwise, it can be just a little difficult. I mean, it's completely usable, but as far as clicking your mouse on things, it can be tricky. So it's just easiest, I find, to just bring your walls completely down, and that'll drop the appearance of the greenhouse, and then you can click on things much easier. But it does all work. And when you do download this, you will actually have some plants already growing here for you. But I have to say, I did enjoy building this. And I did enjoy a number of the things that did come with tiny living. Having been somebody who lives in a tiny place, I live in a 30-foot caravan. I do find some of the lot perks unrealistic. If anybody out there has actually lived in a tiny area, like tiny, they'll probably agree with me. If you're living alone, it's probably a completely different story. But if you're living with somebody else, yes, you do learn about each other very quickly, because you have to. You know, you're in a tiny area. But as far as the rest of it, no, you know, you're not more comfortable. It can be aggravating. I've lived in this caravan for 8 years now with my husband and my dog, but the dog stays outside 99% of the time. He's a Great Dane mix, so wouldn't really fit inside the caravan, but we live on acreage, so it's fine. But yeah, you get in each other's ways. Your nerves are much shorter when you live in a tiny place. So yeah, there's just like the comfort level. Nah, sorry, that doesn't go up when you live in a tiny place. Your bills, yes, can be smaller. That is true. And at least initially, your relationships would get a boost from living in a tiny space. But after a while, no, you'd be having far more arguments. It's just, yeah, that part I find unrealistic. I love it for the Sims gameplay, though. Like, that's great. I really do like the lot traits. The lot traits and the benefits to them are, in my opinion, the best part of this tiny living pack for the game. If you could actually have these lot traits in real life, that would be awesome. That would be so nice, but you don't. Like I said, some people I've known that have lived in tiny houses or caravans or whatever it is they choose, when they're by themselves, it's great. Like, they do really enjoy it and can enjoy it for years, but when you start adding other people into it, yeah, it gets complicated. We'll just put it at that. But I am still happy for this. I am still happy for the lot traits and the TV radio bookshelf combo. The rest of it, not real impressed with, even though I do like the style of the items that we got in this pack. I don't know if I'll actually be using them all that much, especially the Murphy bed. I've done some other builds. I've done some other tiny builds, and I think this is the only build that I actually used the Murphy bed in. So yeah, but we'll see. Oh, and I had a fire too. When I was testing all of this, later on I ended up, I think it was the incense. I had put some incense in here and I was just testing everything. Yep, there it is. You know, can you use this? Can you light that? Can you do whatever? And so I had him light the incense in it because I wasn't sure, you know, exactly if it would work when it was way up there, but it did. The only thing was it started a fire and I lost everything on top of the TV unit, including the TV unit. I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. It was a dramatic build. It was a dramatic build this time. So I hope you guys appreciate what my sim went through to get this to you. Oh, and the grilled cheese. When I was testing out the kitchen, I don't even think it was a grilled cheese. I'm not sure what it was, because this was after he had died and I had come back to a previous save and he started a fire in the kitchen. It was just bad. It was just bad. But we got it done. We got it done eventually. And you do have several skill items here. So there's not only the gardening, but you've got the punching bag and, you know, the painting easel, the guitar, the little meditation stool thing. I forget what that's called. But you've got that, and the chess table and the computer. So there is actually a number of things here for your Sims. I had initially was going to do this as a starter as well, but then just said, no, we're just going to go all out. We're going to make this really nice. I can't remember how much it ends up being, but I think it still ends up being fairly cheap. I think like maybe 30 or 40,000. So it's still not too bad. And you do have a lock that comes with this. So it wouldn't take much for your Sims to be able to move in here without cheats if that's what you wanted to do. So along here, I'm just trying to add, like the dressers. I like that they're just one square. That's great. But in this instance, especially, I kind of wish they were just smaller, kind of like, because I downsized that one there, and I kind of wish they were just that size instead of being quite so tall. I ended up having to change that dresser out later on anyway because it didn't work downsized like that, and I ended up having to go to the other dresser, which did work when it was downsized, because it was just a bit too overpowering in the room. In real life, it would have been like in the way, and it was just, I had to downsize it. That's just all there is to it. And the other one, and this one that's in there at the moment, didn't work, but the other one did, so that was nice. And I do feel like since this house has a lot of greenery outside to grow, that they would probably have greenery inside. So plus I seem to do a lot of plants in my builds anyway. Not sure why, because inside my own caravan, I really don't have that many plants. I think at the moment we've got one in here. We have tons of gardens and plants outside. We're on 5 acres. We're close to it at the moment, and there's plants everywhere on our property. But inside, not so much. Again, because you don't have a lot of space, and trying to have a bunch of plants and things inside a small space is just, it's cluttered in a bad way. So, but in it, most of my builds, and especially it seems like my small builds, I tend to put a lot of plants in there. I don't know why. I just do. they seem to fit better, I think, in small builds. Just not in my real life. Go figure. So here we're just doing some clutter items and things. In this one, I know some of my other, I think both of my previous builds were, except for, was it? I don't remember now. I know in some of my other builds, I have done just the base game and one pack of some kind or another. And initially I was going to do that with this. I was going to do base game and tiny living. But I decided against it. I thought, no, especially when I saw Miss Griffey's video, I thought, no, if I'm going to enter this house into the contest, then I want to actually give it a good go. And for those of you who want to enter as well, I think you only have a couple of days left because I'm doing this a little late. I will leave that video. I will leave a link to that video in the description so that you can go and see what that's all about. Because initially I had recorded this and built this house probably a couple of weeks ago, maybe now. But there's just been some family issues and things that have gone on that I just haven't really gotten around to it, and it just hasn't seemed like the proper time to actually sit down and get this completed and put up on YouTube. So I am running a little late on this, which is why last week there wasn't a video, but I already have a couple of other videos started. So hopefully it won't be like that again, because that was a real disappointment that I didn't get this out when I had wanted it to. That's okay, it's out now. And it's all a learning curve with this whole YouTube thing. But yeah, the stinking welcome wagon was there as well. And of course, Maddox decides to greet them in his pajamas. Which, you know, it's as you do, I guess. But so yeah, this is the build, and I'm just trying to fit in a bunch of different things to finish up cluttering. I did do a couple of things later on after I finished it, just to tweak it, because I'm a perfectionist. But I will give you the gallery link below as well. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.